Football then and now, a fun look at football nostalgia and the modern game intertwined. Join us.
Well, it is back-to-back episodes. We're recording this on Saturday. I think it's the 18th today. I'm sure it is on the 19th, whatever it is. But we are taping this, and then we're going to put it out tomorrow. But Chris is waiting in the wings, and he's got double bubble on this date in football history, haven't you, this week? We're going to go back-to-back with it.
You know what the funny thing is? You said yesterday when you did one with John Scott, when we popped an Everton one out, and unfortunately we're going to roll on with the back-to-back sort of on these days with Everton. Only because, like, this one I'm going to say first, as you got at the bottom of the screen there, was massively influential to one certain Wayne Rooney. We knew about him very so slightly, didn't we, as he was coming up as a young lad. We saw him very briefly against Tottenham at the first game, where it ended 1-1. I think Radzinski equalised, didn't he, in that one? And obviously, he was just about to turn 17, wasn't he? And he wanted to get that goal before he turned 17 as a 16-year-old. You know, at that point, he was the youngest scorer of the Premier League before James Milner took that one. But, you know, in this game, you just saw, like, the aggression, the passion, but the mighty skill that Wayne Rooney was. And, you know, the audacity to take a 25-yarder against, you know, England's number one at the time. And, you know, and the world-class goalkeeper, as you'd say, David Seaman. But the audacity to go and bring that ball down from Thomas Gravesen, turn round and just, you know, perfectly plant that against the bar and in. You know, it just shows you the guile that Wayne Rooney obviously became long after. Obviously, he left us, went to Man United, practically won every mortal thing going. You know, he had his brief spell back with us. I don't know about how you feel, but I was pretty much gutted when we lost him for the second time because, you know, I still think he had a lot to give us.
He was playing like, he could play centre mid and everything. He was playing like different positions on the second run. He could play anywhere, mate. He's that good. I tell you what, though, not to make it about now, he's had a tonking today, mate. Cardiff 5, Plymouth 0, by the way. Yeah, so not a good day at the office in that one, but not taken away from on this day in football, obviously. I remember having the radio on for that game. I know I've said probably previously about it, Radio Merseyside on hearing that goal.
Well, that's all we had back in the day.
And then putting obviously Gillette Soccer Saturday on to see what Jeff Stelling was going to say. When I heard it on the radio, I turned it over. They just said he scored this amazing goal. Again, not having the 3 o'clock kickoffs, wasn't it? And we still don't get him. Well, you know, no. legit, as it were. But as you say, just what he was able to do, Chris. Even when he left, we knew, didn't we? We had that sinking feeling at Euro 2004 when he banged all them goals in. And he was arguably the best player, wasn't he? Michael Owen just didn't have anything on him, did he, in that tournament? And we were gutted. We knew what was coming, didn't we? There was witterings that United was sniffing around him anyway. And then the tournament,
don't forget.
Yeah, the tournament just reaffirmed it because he did so well in that tournament. But that goal, Chris, you know, 30 yards out, as you said, great word, audacity to take that shot on. David Seaman nowhere near it. And that was like us on an upper trajectory then, wasn't it? Because we finished 7th that season. So we had a bit of a slow start, didn't we, previously? But that got us up the table a little bit, this result. And Arsenal were just brilliant, weren't they, at that point as well? So getting a win against them at that point was amazing.
Also, don't forget, Arsenal were on an unbeaten run by that point we played them. And obviously, it was not the Invincibles, because that was obviously a few years after that. But they were on a long unbeaten run before that game. But I didn't think we played that badly against them anyway. I think Thomas Radzinski in that game was starting to come and be a bit more prolific-ish, should we say. Because he did score some good goals and he was, he's a pacey player, wasn't he, Radzinski? But he was starting to come on and understand the Premier League a lot better than he did in his first season. Because you remember the amount of misses he had in his first season. I think the whole team, obviously with Kevin Campbell being there, it was just clicking at the right time for us.
It really did set us up, didn't it? You know, Moyes was starting to get his players in. And then obviously going into, like we said before, the likes of Arteta and Cahill came in there, which further strengthened the squad. The squad got stronger and stronger, didn't it, as it went along. And you could see what he was formulating here, looking back, can't you, how he was starting to get it moving, getting his ideals in. Just what a game, mate! What a game looking back. And do you know what, mate? 22 years ago. I don't want to age us, mate, and make us feel old because we keep saying about this, don't we? But time's ticking away, isn't it? You know, and I don't want to do this because you got to make the most of life. But 22 years ago, Chris.
Yeah, but you know what? You can still you see it in highlights for like Match Today when they go through like the old stuff, and when it's Everton, it's usually Wayne Rooney banging that one in, isn't it? But it's a timeless goal because of the talent of that lad. Do you remember the times when we went to watch him? You know, when we went to the games at Goodison when he was there. You know, when he was a teenager. And he would, literally beat a player, pass the ball on. Nobody would be on that wing. And he'd be chasing his own ball he's passed on and winning it back. Or, getting there before the defender did. It was raw, of course, because obviously he was still, a young lad. But the talent and it was the ruthlessness, because obviously he had that bit of a dogged style to him, didn't he, in those days? And I suppose he carried it on as he got older, but less. But I just think what a player, and you got to be in some way proud that he played for Everton. It's a shame that you can't really call him an icon or a legend because he didn't have really much time to cement that sort of style with Everton because obviously he got moved on. Obviously, we know there's two different sides of the story with that in regard to going to Man United in that summer. But what a player though.
Absolutely incredible. Like we heard about him, in the Youth Cup when they won that Youth Cup final. You hear about these players even then when we were younger, and you didn't know really. There was all this buzz about him, and then all of a sudden, my God! And I remember the Cup game. It might have been prior. I think it was a week or two before. We went away to Wrexham, and he put 2 in.
Yes,
you know what I mean. And obviously that was Wrexham where they were and all that. But you were getting you're thinking this lad might have it and. My God, I think, in some respects, we were lucky to have him as long as we had him, really, when you look at it. I know it was only a short period the first time, was it? Well, the second one was as well, as you said.
Yeah.
Just what a player. You are on double duty, though, Chris, as I said in the intro. They're getting banged for their buck today with On This Day, I tell you. Bloody hell. I'm sorry to the non-Everton fans, but it's another Everton game as well.
I do apologise.
But that's, I can remember this as well, Chris. So, take it away with this one. Everton 3, Villa 2 on this date in 2001.
Yeah, well, this is literally, obviously, the one we just did then is tomorrow's date, which will be, obviously, when this comes out, the Wayne Rooney one will be on this day from tomorrow. But on this day, I have to put the old double day there, was a classic because not only we beat Villa, and Tommy Gravo was fantastic in that game. There was a certain goalkeeper, Stuart, that literally popped up at the last minutes for Villa when we were beating them 3-1 from a corner. And Peter Schmeichel, wasn't a bad little shot, but it did take a few deflections, didn't it? And it bobbled its way in. But when I just, it wasn't really renowned back then, really. Was it goalkeepers, coming up? I know they did run out the box, but they never really scored. But Peter Schmeichel was one of the first, if I put my mind to it, here in the Premier League history.
We were in front of a TV in the local shopping centre because we'd played football and what have you. I remember being in front. It was either Teletext was on that screen, if memory serves, or they had Sky Sports News had Gillette Soccer Saturday on. And I remember me and you, when that goal went in, we were then panicking then that they were going to go and get a third and get a draw. We managed to hang on, didn't we? But I remember panicking in front of that TV, and Brady was with us, and he was thinking, maybe they're gonna get a third and make it 3-3. Thankfully, we held on, but like you said, the talking point from it is Schmeichel getting a goal, and I think he'd had a few in his career by the end of it. Yeah, but it was weird, wasn't it? A keeper getting a goal, we just weren't accustomed to that, were we?
Well, no, as I said, they did obviously when teams are 1-0 down or 2-1 down and it's the last dying embers, the keeper runs up for the corner, doesn't he, or the set piece in the box. But, they never really mounted to anything. If anything, the counter-attack, and they screwed themselves then and they, conceded. But, Schmeichel managed to pop one off. Like I said, it was a bit of a farty shot. It wasn't anything spectacular. That picture of Schmeichel looks like it was like a spectacular shot. But really, he didn't catch it cleanly enough, but it bobbled its way in because at Goodison or against Everton in general, goals like that always seem to bobble in past us. But yeah, I did that took the whole game of us winning it, and I think Thomas Gravson was fantastic in this game. But as you said, the talking point was Peter Schmeichel getting that late second goal for Villa.
Just amazing, and yeah, good. I'll tell you what, mate, double duty on this. This might happen again. It's good having back to back, and good having you. Good having you doing it, because I obviously did it yesterday. We went through which one we were going to go for, but it's always good that you do it. It's your thing, and we like the nostalgia, don't we? And it might be non-Everton the next one, but we can't confirm. We can't confirm. Can we?
Yeah, it depends what comes up, really. Like, it wasn't like massive things that came up for these last 2 days. You know what I mean? Anything that's a talking point. Obviously, Wayne Rooney's first goal was a talking point because for what it was and who it was. And I just thought, obviously, I know it's another Everton related on this day, but Peter Schmeichel scoring, probably the first goal from a goalkeeper in the Premier League.
I've typed the dates in wrong as well. I've just seen when I've thrown that graphic up there. So it was the 19th and the 20th. I apologise. Typo from me. I apologise, but we get the gist. But I've got my bloody dates wrong, so don't ask me to bloody type that in again, I tell you. Today, Chris, we've obviously had games going on. Tottenham West Ham was the early game. West Ham didn't look bad in the first half. I was dipping in and out, though. I didn't see it in its entirety. And then it was 3 quick-fire goals from Tottenham. West Ham capitulated in that game. And Spurs have got it in them, haven't they? When they play Ange's way, we got battered there 4-0, but they lost to Brighton 3-2 previously. I was speaking to John about it. But your feelings on this one, mate? And also, Lopetegui, it's not going great there. And they got rid of Moyes. The West Ham fans wanted rid of Moyes. But I'm wondering, was it the right thing to do? What do you think?
Well, we spoke about Lopetegui already, haven't we? When we looked at the league a few weeks ago, I think in the last episode we did together. And I said to you, the amount of money that Lopetegui spent in this, for West Ham for this summer. And they haven't really got anything back yet. Obviously, they had that result against Ipswich themselves, didn't they? But, I think you'd expect West Ham, playing at home, to beat Ipswich. And they duly did. But, when we get round to the Everton Ipswich game today, there's reasons for it. But in regards of losing 4-1, Tottenham, they do blow a lot of hot and cold, don't they? And I think, Ange is still working on his style, and I think they're just short a few more players. I think that Andrew's probably wanting it, for Tottenham, that will turn the tide, and maybe they could win a trophy or get themselves back in the Champions League. But it's not a good look for Lopetegui at all. But it's a fantastic win for Tottenham, and I give a good shout for Richarlison being the big shithouser he is. And you saw a lot of that in this game. But, we're used to it because, that's what he did for us.
He came on late on as well. It's like, here we go. Then he's like, they're saying about the sending off, weren't they, with Kudus? Like, there's been why it happened, they don't know, and all that. And he shouldn't have gone. And I've read all sorts of stuff. But, Tottenham needed it, didn't they, off the back of dropping that 2-goal lead to Brighton before the international break. And, so we'll see with that. And West Ham, I think the pressure's on him. I think the pressure's on Lopetegui. Yeah. He's going to have to start getting the results behind him, isn't he? Ten Hag, he's going game to game here. They were 1-0 down to Brentford. Ethan Pinnock on 49 minutes before half-time got a goal. It was Garnacho and Rasmus Højlund today with the goals for United. Ten Hag hangs on for another game, because I was only saying to John, you've got to wonder, would he lose his job if they lost today? What do you think with Ten Hag? What are your thoughts and feelings? And is he hanging on to his job?
Well, listening to, United fans that we are friends with, and I'm reading people's posts, along social media. I think the percentage of people probably want Ten Hag out, where, most of your rivals probably want to keep him in just because, United are struggling so much. I think it's hard, isn't it, for them? Because obviously we understand, when things aren't going well. But, United are a big, big club, and they spent big, big money again, haven't they? Makes me think that, they maybe should have spent the money on Branthwaite if they really wanted a decent defender. I'm not saying De Ligt or Euro aren't any good, but obviously Euro is injured. And De Ligt, I think, if he wasn't getting in Bayern Munich's team and he was getting, I think Eric Dyer was getting in ahead of him, says a lot really to me, because, I had imagined, in my mind, De Ligt is a much better player than Eric Dyer, but, Eric Dyer was getting in before him at Bayern. I did read something about today's game. Obviously, saying about De Ligt, he went off because he was pissing blood apparently. I haven't seen the goals or watched any of the game.
No,
but
it'll be later on.
I was reading at half time when
Yeah.
obviously we finished half time because obviously we kicked it off 15 minutes later today, didn't we? And they were saying obviously when De Ligt went off, it was obviously Brentford had that corner, and where obviously Pinnock scored from the header from the corner, that's where De Ligt would have been. So it's like in the cases of if he's bleeding that much, you're meant to come off pretty much straight away anyway.
Yeah.
So why aren't you know what I mean? Why aren't referees looking at this and trying to get it, moving on? So, these things don't happen, but Premier League, isn't it?
He lives to fight another day, and he's got Fenerbahce this week in the Europa League as well. So he's got Jose and the boys at Fenerbahce there. I think he'll get a pass. He'll get a pass for that if they were to lose or draw. I think it's the league form, isn't it? If he starts, if they've got to get going. I mean, they're only on 11 points. We're on 8.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? But they're just accustomed to. I said it yesterday to John. I think they're still in the Fergie era where they were so used to winning the league, Champions League, and that. The cups are just not good enough for their fan base, are they? Because they were so prolific for so many years. I know it's 11. I know it's 11 years since Fergie, Chris. It's a long time ago, but they were just accustomed. They won a lot of stuff, didn't they? That fan base, have always had success for the most part, haven't they? In the Ferguson era.
Well, they have. Listen, no matter how much you hate Man United or, you're a Man City fan and despise Man United, you can't take away what Alex Ferguson did. And the players he brought through, the players he bought, minor the odd mistake ones he bought here and there, but it was very, very few and far between when he made a mistake when he signed a player. But he always had the up-and-coming players. The youth system at United just kept on churning out, players that became as close as world class as you can get. I don't think they ever reached the levels of like Giggs or Paul Scholes, but you can't take away what Ferguson did. And just think of his last season with Man United, the team he had was poor, and he still managed to win the league with the team he had. It just shows you the quality of a manager he was. And
I do think it's not a disrespect on their fan base. They just want they were so used to league titles for such a long time. So you can understand it. They're not happy with League Cups and FA Cup wins, and you can understand it. But again, they're just they're gonna have to get some more wins under their belt because they're still bottom half now. Because obviously Bournemouth have beaten Arsenal, which we'll talk about after. But moving on, Chris, Fulham have had a couple of bad results now. They were going very well. They've stagnated. They're on 11 points. They've lost the last 2. Aston Villa have got themselves back in the top 4 again. What a start. We've spoken about Villa, haven't we, over the weeks? But a fantastic away victory, that, isn't it? And, they'll have Champions League this week as well, so they're going to have to find the balance again. But that's a fantastic result to me. What do you think with the 3-1 for them at Craven Cottage today?
As you said, you can't take anything away from Marcus Silva and Fulham. But, at the early start of the Premier League, they did really well. They picked up the points very quickly. They got up the table, and that's what you want, don't you? You want all the points. You want as many points you can get up the table, and try and get away from the bottom half. As you said, they started. Well, I don't know. I think it's more injuries against you. I think a lot of teams are struggling with injuries. I think there's, we spoke about this last time, about the amount of games players are having to play. And you're sort of seeing it more this season as well. Obviously, I think it's continued from last season, but there's a lot of injuries, more so than ever now for players. Just consistent, isn't it? They're always constantly playing. So Fulham obviously have had injuries. The double sending off as well, Stuart, doesn't bode well. Them coming to play, they come to Goodison, aren't they, next week? Going back to Villa, you can't take anything away. It's just like every time you watch them, Emre's just got them singing, and it's amazing to see. And I hope they continue, try and get 4th spot again this season.
Apologies, mate. I am squinting at that stuff that I've screenshotted. I can't see, so I'm using my phone just to go through them as well. I am squinting, mate. Maybe my eyes are getting worse. They're not the best there, mate. I apologise, but yeah, Villa going great guns, aren't they? And if they can,
they're great to watch as well, though.
Sorry, mate.
They've been really good to watch. That's what I was trying to say.
They played some lovely stuff. They played some real good stuff. I thought when they drew away at Ipswich, I was like, oh, but they've come out of that and they've been getting the results. And I know Brady's very happy, and so they should be. And the European night of the week against Bayern, the atmosphere, I had the radio on for the first half. Unbelievable. Because they haven't had it for so many years. So good on them. You know, we've said it many a time, haven't we? They got relegated. They've come back. They're better for it. Just Emery is going great guns, great squad of players. Moving on, Chris, I look at this as the result of the day, actually. Brighton won up at St. James's Park against Newcastle. I think that's a fantastic win. Danny Welbeck again on 35 minutes, Chris. And Brighton are going well. They're up to 5th now, 15 points from 8. And they've only lost the one game so far. What a start for Fabian Herzler.
Yeah, and do you know what? You know, coming from St. Pauli in Germany, wasn't really a big renowned manager, was it? And, you know, comes to the Premier League the first time, he's done fantastic. Obviously, they've still pretty much kept what they had from last season with De Zerbi. Sorry, get my words out properly. And you know, but he's got his own style. We saw that at Goodison when we played them at the first game of the season. And I think it's United. Is United have only beaten Brighton this season, isn't it? I think it's United.
It's no bloody hell. It's good.
I think I might be wrong, but
you'd be right. I bet you'd be right, mate.
Or it could have been Liverpool, one of the other. I can't remember. It could be either one of them. But they're fantastic. And the core again with them, it's still youth, and the players they're bringing in are, you know, from Danish leagues, Swedish leagues, but you know, these young talents that are coming through, and they're ridiculously good, Stuart. And you got to say that's down to David Weir and his team that are scouting all these other different countries where people aren't really obviously not looking into, and they're picking up these gems, obviously selling them on for big money. But, you know what I mean? It's a good conveyor belt because they're always getting someone else in to, once they've replaced, you know, sold that one player, someone else is there ready to take the position off them. But yeah, they've got great guns as well. I just think I don't know. It's a difficult one with Brighton because I've always thought they always start off really, really well, and then they do peter down a bit more towards like the latter half of the season. And I think the last couple of seasons we've noticed that. But good for them, and it's a tough place to go, Newcastle, and even get a victory at least. So good for them, and it gives them enough breathing space again, for that European top.
I'm probably doing a disservice to Bournemouth beating Arsenal, actually saying it was the result of the day. We'll get to Bournemouth Arsenal because that was a late kickoff, but I think anybody that goes up to St. James's and comes away with 3 points, they're going to be elated, aren't they? If you're not Liverpool or City, or Arsenal going up there and doing it, I think fantastic. What a start. They're nearly on 2 points a game here, and he's so young as a manager. And I'm not saying age is a problem. Of course, it's not, because he's proven that he can do it. 31 years of age, and great start. But as you say, we've seen this with De Zerbi the last couple of seasons, haven't we? They had a really good start and then kind of petered off a little bit. But they're looking good. They're looking good, and the additions he's made are looking good too. Moving on, Chris, Southampton and Leicester. Southampton were 2 up. Obviously, Ryan Fraser was sent off on 73 minutes, though. Leicester did get a goal back before that sending off, and then subsequent penalty from Ryan Fraser sending off. Jamie Vardy in the goals again.
Always, even at his age.
And then in the 98th minute, with the man advantage, Jordan Ayew makes it 3-2. So Southampton let a 2-goal lead slip. Sounds like Everton.
Well, at least it's someone else doing it now, not us.
and Tottenham before the international break.
There you go. It's not just us.
We passed it on. We passed it on our little run now.
Good. I'm sick of us going up and going up 2-0 leads, and then giving it away. The only thing I'll say about us with that is the Villa goal was incredible for their third goal, and there's nothing Pickford really could have done. Obviously could have been closed down a bit quicker, but. Yeah, it seems to be a theme at the moment this season, isn't it? Red cards. Obviously, this week there's been a bundle of them, but it seems to be like A lot of teams coming from behind, especially against us, obviously, and then a lot of red cards going on this season.
And we're going to speak about that in a minute. What do you think? I think Southampton are doomed now. And I know it's only 8 games in. We've got 30 to go. They're only on 1 point. I think they're going to struggle. I really do. Leicester have had back-to-back wins now. They've had 2 good results, and again, we'll wait to see the highlights, of course. But just going off what I've been reading and stuff like that, it's still a fantastic win for Leicester. It bloody put them above us, didn't it, by a point? Them getting that late goal, but they seem to be doing all right. Leicester, they might have a fighting chance of staying up. I think potentially. I think they've got quite a good chance of doing it. What do you think? Do you think Southampton are doomed even at this early stage?
I've thought, like, when we discussed this at the beginning of the season, who we thought potentially could go down, and I think we were both on the fence because obviously we wanted to see like the first half of the season sort of pan out, didn't we? But we obviously had our ideas of who we thought possibly, and I think Southampton were definitely one of them that was definitely deemed to go back down. And I think watching them against us in the cup, even though obviously they knocked us out on penalties, they were dreadful. I know that we haven't played great, but they were equally as bad. And it just shows that it's not just Carabao Cup. They were bad in pretty much every other game that they seem to, collapse as they have today, or they've just not turned up and have got a walloping from someone. They're not the same team, if I remember, back in, we'd say about five or 6 years ago, Stuart, and even before them, and they were churning out as well youth players that have turned out to be fantastic, or have moved on, and had a great career from Southampton. It just seemed to be the same team that was, consistently in a Premier League. Obviously, they weren't top half team, but they were consistent between like 12th and 11th, weren't they? Until they got relegated. And I feel for them, but I can't see them staying up this season. If I'm honest with you, though.
It's going to be a struggle, isn't it? And it really is. But look, judging by what we've seen so far with them, so the Saints could be in massive trouble. And as I say, we've only played 8. There's 30 to go yet, and we've got Christmas, haven't we? Got peak time to come yet. All them games in around Christmas and New Year. So we'll see, but it's not looking good, is it? And moving on, Ipswich and Everton. So we've obviously watched this one today.
Yeah, we have watched this one.
Another clean sheet, Chris. After all them goals getting banged in, against us, we were conceding, we were flooding goals early on in the season, the first 4 games, weren't we? So what were your takeaways today from the performance? I felt Ipswich were knocking it around all right before the goals, actually. They had a sustained period of possession, and they were looking all right. Liam Delap looked lively again, but we got through it. We seemed to get through it, didn't we? And what was your takeaway today with our performance? And Ipswich.
Well, I'll go from Ipswich's first, because obviously they were on an unbeaten run, weren't they? They had a couple of draws, haven't they, in a run. So I was, you got to be sceptical because we're being Evertonians, and our away games aren't always the greatest. But we seem to pick up a bit of form the last couple of seasons with Dice when we've played away. It seems like we have more confidence going away to playing against teams than we do playing at Goodison. I thought we were much better in closing down. They moved the ball much better. Okay, there was a few laps in the passes now and again, but there was like less than it normally is, because usually with Decore and Ghana, someone's not passing the ball properly, and it did happen a few times, but not as much as it has done. I thought Njai again, fantastic,
very good.
Jack Harrison worked his socks off.
Yeah, then balls in, for the goal, and the other one that he put in, where the defender, I think, went for it because Morich was all over the place, wasn't he? I think the defender cleared it. There was, sorry, mate, I jumped in there. You were flowing then as well. No. But he did look good. He looked very good.
His balls were better. Because one thing I can say about Jack Harrison, what annoys me is when he does cross the ball in the net, it's usually too high and too wide. And obviously, Calvert-Lewin never gets a look in then. But his balls in, like today, were fantastic. I've got to give a special mention for Ashley Young as well. You know what I mean? He's our age, and he's been fantastic today at left back. He used all his experience. He didn't really get bum rushed by a quicker player. I think he was much more composed, and he has been in the last couple of games. And he's been bombing it down that left as well, which is great to see as someone at his age, and he's outrunning their left midfielder. It's great to see for him. And then obviously Calvert-Lewin, Stuart, we spoke about this on WhatsApp after the game. He worked his socks off today, and I will not knock him for that. But the chances he had, and he had 2 one-on-ones.
Dad was going mad, Chris. It's just like, how many chances did he need? Too many touches half the time. He nearly knocked it out. He took 4 touches in the box where he could have took it with his first touch, maybe. I think he was overthinking it. That's how it came across to me. I don't know how you felt.
I think I've never thought Calvert-Lewin's ever been good on a one-on-one situation. I think he's good in the air, obviously. And I think if the ball's bouncing up, he's good there. Volleys, yeah. But there's one-on-one situations. I don't know what it is with him. Is it confidence? Or does he panic? You know what I mean? In that situation, we said about this, a very good goal scorer or a world-class striker will always put those away, really. And you know what I mean? And he had the first one he went through, Stuart, he could have gone past Muric and slotted it in that way. And then the last one, just before the game finished, I don't know if that might have been a bit offside anyway, but still, it just seemed very tame shots when he's got through. You know what I mean? It's like he's side-footing it instead of just wellying it. And I just don't know what the problem is with that.
He needs to go to shooting school with Michael Keane because frigging Nora.
Michael Keane. Well, maybe
oh my God.
Positions.
Oh my God. For them. It's just like, which, we've seen him with headers and stuff, haven't we, off corners and getting goals. He's good for a goal. As much shit as he gets at the back. And we've all been on his case. But my God, when he's in that box, I tell you, he's going to have to take shooting lessons. Get Calvert-Lewin with him and he'll show him how to frigging put it in the back of the net. But yeah, a good win, mate, considering where we were in the opening 4 with no points on the board after dropping leads. It's 8 points from the last 4. And there's been some tricky games there as well. We've had Newcastle come to Goodison.
We have. Yeah.
So he has. It's a bit better than it was, isn't it? If anything.
Yeah, I did read some people's comments on other sort of groups that I'm in, Everton ones, and they were like, "Oh, keeps the dice out people quiet for a bit." No, not necessarily. I'm still on that wavelength, and I still think, and I'll stick to what I said on Mike's podcast, that I'm probably happy for him to finish his contract and go at the end of the season, and then we transition, fresh from next season onwards. But listen, you can't fault him. He's had a lot of hard work to get through and a lot of stuff going on the back at Everton. Not much money to spend. We've had a lot of injuries. I think he probably would have wanted more players in the last 2 summers. But what he has brought in this season, you can't fault him. They've been really, really good. And Jai just is an Everton player that we would have loved, years and years ago. When we've had those type of players, you just see it and you respect it more. I don't like lazy players that we've had and still have at the club. But when Njai gets on, he sets your heart racing because you don't know what he's going to do. But he's terrific. How he traps the ball when the ball's coming down, the turns he does, the strength. And his finish today, Stuart, is the instinct to know that ball. Obviously, I think it was Morazé, wasn't it? He pinched it from the corner and just, had the turn to bang it in the top corner.
He's not overthinking it. This is what Calvert-Lewin needs to do. He just knows where the goal is and he'll shoot. All right, if he could be saved, he could hit the bar, he could hit the post, but 9 times out of 10 with him, from what we've seen, and we got him for a snip potentially here.
Yeah, I'd say so.
15 million, was it? 15, and then
I think it was more between 18 million.
Yeah.
Obviously add-ons because we haven't got any money to spend 18 million bang on, obviously, so we're having to pay that in drips and drabs. But don't forget, though, I know he played for Sheffield United. We know he played in the Championship, but he was untested in the Premier League, so you didn't know what you're going to get with him.
Yeah, it was a bit of an unknown, wasn't it?
And he didn't have a great season with Marseille, and they were playing him on the wing like we have been playing him on the wing. Obviously, he's got a different role for Everton than he did for Marseille, but he's exciting talent to watch, and you miss that. And I wish we just had a few more players, or we can bring in a few more players like that, that get you off your seat because we really don't have many enough. We don't have really any of them other than Njai, really, that get you off your seat.
It's been years waiting for a play like this. And again, we've said about it previously. It's him covering at the back as well defensively.
He's been good for that.
It gives so much, it's positive for Mikalenko. He's down there, isn't he? He's getting stuck in. Yeah. That side of it, as good as he is going forward, as we said, it's his work rate defensively as well. He's been absolutely brilliant. A breath of fresh air. Fresh air, I'll term it. I think that's the best.
I completely agree.
The best way to put it. He's exciting. He gets you off your seat. We haven't had a player like this for so long.
I think I was a bit skeptical at first. Obviously, moving McNeil and Njai separately left and then centre, because obviously thought Njai was going to play more central. But you know what I mean? I think McNeil's loving his life at the moment, playing in that 10 role and that hole. I think everything he's touched at the moment, because obviously he was struggling a lot, wasn't he, last season? I know he had stuff going on outside of football, but in this number 10 spot now, Stuart, it's like a changed man. He's set up obviously Njai for Michael Keane for the second goal. And he overcooked the pass just a bit, but it's intelligent runs that he's getting Calvert-Lewin to do now. Obviously, Calvert-Lewin needs to finish, but the balls he's giving Calvert-Lewin, Calvert-Lewin's getting a lot more chances than he would normally get. So hopefully, we're going on the up now.
We've got Fulham. Fulham next, which will be they're going to be chomping at the bit to get 3 points on the board. And in more recent times, hasn't been great against Fulham. I know that's history and stuff like that. You've got to look forward and that, but we've had some bad results against the Cottagers. There's no question of that. And I'm going to just turn it to Ipswich quickly before we go to today's final game. This is now 4 draws, 4 losses, Chris. So still no win on the board, but they've got 4 points. They've got 4 points there. It's not a bad start, I wouldn't say necessarily. And again, work rate, they did some tidy stuff from what I saw today. Do you think
at the back, Stuart? It's at the back. Sorry to butt in, but it's
at
the back.
Go on.
The goals we scored today is because of their mistakes, and they could have been. We could have scored a lot more than what 2-0 today if Calvert-Lewin had his shooting boots on. But every chance that we had wasn't made clear cut by us. It was because of the mistakes that they were doing at the back. You can't come to the Premier League and stop doing that against teams, because you will be punished, and like they have been punished today, and they got punished last week to West Ham when they made the same mistakes there. You can't be doing that in the Premier League. And I know people saying, they feel that Ipswich can stay up. On that performance today, Stuart, I don't see them staying up if they continue making that many mistakes at the back. I
mean, if Palace are to win their game, they'll be out, and then Ipswich will be down in there. Wolves have got City tomorrow, so you're looking at that. That's just, you'd say that's a formality, and how bad it's been for Gary O'Neill recently. But potentially they could be going down, into their goal difference as well is -10. Obviously, Palace's is -5, so a draw will get Palace into 17th.
Yeah, it would, yeah.
And Chris, obviously, Bournemouth, Arsenal have had a sending off again. I
know
people were giving off about it. It shouldn't have happened. Bad reffing decision again. Saliba sent off 30 minutes. Bournemouth late on there with 2 goals, one of which was a penalty that Justin Kluivert put away. Ryan Christie with the first goal as well. But fantastic result for Bournemouth. I know they had the man advantage for 60 plus minutes there, but fantastic. And it's a bit of a kick in the balls for Arsenal, isn't it? Sending off, relatively early, and it's contentious again.
And the worst thing here, Stuart, is Saliba obviously being sent off. They've got Liverpool next, and not having Saliba with Gabriel, going in against Liverpool. That's it's a kick in the teeth there as well. Obviously, losing the game's a kick in the teeth, but you've got a rival coming up next. You don't really want to lose to Liverpool because you're giving up more ground. But, you lose one of your star players as well. And, when I'm saying star players, Saliba and Gabriel are 2 best partnerships, I'd say, in the Premier League at the moment. And they have been from last season too. It's just, I don't know. I just don't understand what the situation with Arsenal is at the moment. That they keep getting sent off. They get sent off. Sorry, their players keep getting sent off, and they're not bad sending offs per se. They're the stupid sending offs, but it's consistently happening to them. So I don't know whether Arteta's got to take this to a draw on board now and say whatever is happening here, don't get drawn into it. But yeah, they're losing ground. I know that, like you say, they're only a point away, but obviously City to play tomorrow.
And then obviously Liverpool and Chelsea, Liverpool, sorry, in that order. Obviously at Stamford Bridge, Chelsea will be looking at it. If they win tomorrow, they could be up in third. They could jump a lot of places there. And then the way I'm looking at it as well, if Liverpool was to win, they're then on 21 points. That's a 4-point gap if they beat Chelsea. There's a lot of permutations here, isn't there? Ahead of tomorrow, if City win, which they should do, you'd expect them to. I've gone for a 3-0 tomorrow against Wolves. They'll be on 20 points. They could be top. It's early doors again, but it's being behind, isn't it, Chris? Because it's how many points Liverpool and City will drop this season. They don't tend to drop many, do they?
No, and I think obviously with Slot going into Liverpool after Klopp's obviously gone, and people were a bit unsure, is he going to be? Is he able to cut it in the Premier League? Because I think Dutch managers haven't had the best outcomes, have they, when they've been managing in the Premier League? But he's seemed to get it perfect at the moment. Obviously, he's still got Klopp's team, so that does help. But he's done really well. They haven't lost a game yet, and they're going great guns. But as you say, once Liverpool and Man City, and you can say Arsenal as well, once they get going, you know what I mean? You're not chasing them then. And I think like the likes of Arsenal having a couple of hiccups recently is they can't afford to lose another game now.
It's so early on. It's so early on, but you look at that, 2 draws and a loss. So they've dropped 7 points there, haven't they, essentially? Yeah. Anyone being 100% record, it's in this league, it's very hard, isn't it, again? But you look at that, a couple of draws has probably knackered it as well, hasn't it, early on. But again, a lot of football to play, Chris. You can't write them off.
No.
Like you're saying. You can't write them off.
No, you can't. But what you say about it, it's still early doors. The thing is, it can be as early as possible. And if the likes of Man City and Liverpool start running away early doors, and you make up a few hiccups here and there, you're behind already, and it's a hard one to get back.
I'm going to pick a few from next week because we're looking ahead. You said we'll do a little bit. I think obviously the game of the weekend, and we were talking about you said a little bit there about it. Arsenal, Liverpool. Well, that's huge now, especially for Arsenal. If it wasn't huge prior to today, it is now, isn't it? How do you see that going? Just a little bit more onus on that, because that's the game of the weekend next weekend, isn't it?
Well, obviously, Arsenal losing today hasn't helped matters. Saliba getting sent off. Obviously, we don't know the score between Liverpool and Chelsea because they don't play till tomorrow. But we'll say hindsight, Liverpool beat Chelsea, or they could lose. And then it makes it more of an interesting game for the pair of them next week. But let's just go off the form that Liverpool are in at the moment and say they beat Chelsea. They're going to the Emirates full of confidence, Stuart, where Arsenal have got to sort of regather themselves. Be one of their star players down. Will Saka be fit and ready to play? Because they didn't look great without Saka today. So it's one of them, Stuart. And I think you've either got a draw or Liverpool win there. And I think Arsenal will have a struggle or just about get a draw. Just the way the Liverpool are playing at the moment.
Is there a game on that list there that you'd like to talk about just before? Obviously, we won't go over them all just because of time. But
no, of course.
Which other one's sticking out in them out of those other 3?
Well, you know what? I think he's a good one here. Is West Ham United? There's a tale of 2 managers under a lot of pressure.
How do you see it going? Obviously, we've spoken about them, what they've done today. If I had to, press you for a prediction,
do you see United stealing that? 1-0
potentially because they weren't very good.
They've got the players to do it, Stuart. They
weren't very good at the back in the second half today, and I could definitely see it. Although I think at home West Ham they beat Ipswich 4-1, so you can make a case for that as well. I think when they are at home, it's a hell of a crowd there, isn't it? It's gotten through in a lot of big games, but again, Ten Hag needs it, and Lopetegui needs it.
It really needs it.
It's so equal, isn't it? It could be the straw that breaks the camel's back. I think Lopetegui he'll be all right for a bit yet because it's very early on, but we know the unsurmountable pressure Ten Hag's had in the press, for months and months and months now.
It's a hard one, isn't it? If you're either or of those managers, obviously Ten Hag's going to have the amount of pressure because of the sheer Man United's name, isn't it? And Lopetegui, like I said to you before, Stuart, has spent a lot of money and hasn't got much back for it yet.
And then in this list here, Chris, just pick one.
I won't pick ours because that's just being selfish.
That's fine. That's fine.
Let's go Villa, Bournemouth, seeing as they both won great victories today against,
good choice.
Villa away, great result, and obviously Bournemouth beating Arsenal is a fantastic result for them. Could be a tasty one. I think Bournemouth have been much better this season, and again they bought correct and they lost a big player in Solanke going to Tottenham. Ed Nielsen's obviously come in, and he's finding his feet. He still hasn't scored. A lot. I don't think he's even scored yet, has he? Vin Nielsen, but he's a talent. You could see at Porto he was a talent. Villa, you say, Stuart, giving great guns. Could be an interesting one. Both full of confidence. It could. I don't know. You just don't know the Premier League. I'd say obviously Villa going off form. Yes, you'd probably say they should easily beat Bournemouth, but Bournemouth obviously be on a high.
Areola will send them boys in there to go and play. They'll play a bit. You've said how good Villa have looked. They've played some lovely stuff, but Bournemouth can play. I love Semenyo. I love him. I think he's a fantastic player. He missed a chance tonight. I did see put it over the bar. I was expecting it to be in the back of the net. To be honest, he should have put it away. Obviously, it didn't matter towards the back end of the game. They won the game, but that was at 0-0 when he put it over. Justin Kluivert, Chris, and he's been on the bench in a lot of games. He's a good player. He's been loaned, hasn't he? He was touted years ago as a youngster. And they seem good. They seem good at the back, don't they? Senesi. They've got a good. They play for one another, don't they? They really do. They play. So I'm with you. I'm with you on them fixtures there. Picking that one because that's huge off the back of what's happened today.
Obviously, we quickly touch on Everton. I hope.
Yeah.
I know that.
Yeah, go on, mate.
Half five kickoff. I didn't know that. So great. It's on the telly. But we got to keep that momentum going. Obviously, say the Fulham's loss today. It wasn't great for them. They've had a sending off as well. So we pound the misery back on towards them, and we keep the confidence going. And I know, as you said before, games against Fulham haven't been great, but majority of the games that we played Fulham that we've lost, we've been the better team. So I'd imagine keeping this confidence. No one gets injured. Branthwaite could maybe come back in.
Hopefully.
We should be able to get 3 points there.
I will
as
say
long
this,
as we play like we have done today.
Keenan Tarkowski kept the lap relatively quiet. I know early on he had a few goes, but but again, we want big man back, don't we, at the back? That's
of course you do.
That's what we want. But Keen's not been bad, and I'm not just saying because he scored goals the last couple of games. He's actually, I think there was one thing today where it was a bit, why have you done that? I can remember him, and I was like, bollocks, but he was all right. He was all right in the main. And Pickford, what was that when he ran out of goal? I think it was like 9 minutes in. Friggin' Nora.
Yeah, sort of wellied the ball at Harrison, didn't he?
He did that for England against Greece. He's running out. It's this bloody playing from the back, Chris. It's like...
what he's like. He has his mad moments.
There was a quote. It's like 3 teams in the world can play out from the back. There's only 3 teams in the world that do it. Obviously City being one. I can't remember the person who said it, but I was like, but we all tried to play it. And today, mate, I was like, oh my God, come on, Pickers. Friggin' Nora. Oh.
I actually want to talk about their penalty.
Did you see a connection?
No, I saw when Clark got in, he slipped and kicked the back of McNeil's foot and fell over. It wasn't the other way around because the co-commentator today, Stuart, I don't know who it was.
Darren Ambrose. So obviously he's at Ipswich anyway.
Well, he was doing me head and saying, it's definitely pen. And obviously we go back to the Newcastle game, same thing kind of pretty much happened to us, but I think more Calvert-Lewin was more, about to connect with the ball. I think Clark was on his way down before McNeil even got near him, really. And, they say, it's a penalty, And then the second half, I've had a chance to look at it. It's not a penalty. Don't be so persistent then. Do you know what I mean?
On Everton's The Kendall End, I'm sure you're part of that group as well on Facebook. Yes. I feel like we owe Michael Oliver some sort of pat on the back for managing to go a whole 90 minutes without effing us over. And they put loads of smiley emojis across it.
Well, they're not wrong because he doesn't like us, does he? So
no. I'll just ask you as well, obviously Chelsea-Liverpool, just a quick prediction before we go, because that's the game tomorrow, probably the game of the weekend, of course. 4:30 tomorrow. Chris Hume's prediction for Chelsea-Liverpool, which is going to be a huge, huge game. I went for a draw with John yesterday.
I think obviously Chelsea have started to pick up now, and you know what I mean. I think you're seeing Enzo's philosophy coming through, which is great to see for Chelsea because they have all these players in so many different styles, but he seemed to blend it in. He's got rid of what he doesn't want, and he's using what he wants. You're starting to see them purr a bit now. On the other hand, Liverpool have been a wrecking machine. They haven't played fantastic in games, but they've managed to finish it. And they are unbeaten. It goes either way for me. I think Liverpool will probably pinch it 2-1. I just think at the moment
John went for a win as well. He said Angus will be happy with that. I've gone 2-2, but there's been games like I know Chelsea drew with Palace, didn't there? There's been games where they've absolutely swarmed teams. Like Wolves was one, wasn't it, when they absolutely hammered them? There's been a few, hasn't there, where they've scored a lot of goals, but there's been games where they haven't. But I think he's had a great start. I'll eat humble pie because I said weeks and weeks ago when we were predicting the season, and the bookies had them in the top 4, and I said I can't see Chelsea doing it. I think it's going to take time, but he looks good early on, doesn't he? What he's bringing in, the philosophy.
I think so, and I think they've left him to it now. They're not interfering, and I think the last two would say Potter, Lampard, and Pochettino have had a lot of their input, not their own, and not their own philosophy. It's Todd Bowley's flipping philosophy, if I'm honest. And I think Enzo's managed to buy who he wants this summer. Well, it seems more like that. And he's, as I said, he's got rid of the players he doesn't want, Stuart. He's got the players he wants, and it's all working. And I think you've got Cole Palmer at the moment. That lad literally touches anything, it goes gold. And fantastic to watch, Stuart, at such a young age. Obviously Liverpool are going to be very on top of him tomorrow, but he's that talented, Stuart. I think
it's going to be a hell of a game, isn't it? It's great for the neutral as well.
Of course,
it's great. It's great for us watching it. You can expect a fiery encounter tomorrow at Stamford Bridge. It's going to be absolutely brilliant. Chris, before we go, of course, all at the social media accounts where people can find us, please, before we go, mate.
Yes, no problem. Right, so Stu and everyone else, we are on Facebook at Football Now and Then. We are on Twitter or X, however you want to say it. It's Footy Now and Then. We're on Instagram at Football Now and Then. We're on YouTube, Football Now and Then. I think, what else? We're on TikTok at Football Now and Then as well. And also, we're everywhere you can get your audio. If you're walking your dog, driving your car, 5 o'clock in the morning in work like me, get your headphones in and just find us on any audio platform.
And Chris, because I never open with this, I'm going to put the graphic at the Sport Social Podcast Network that we're a part of as well before we go, if you just want to do the honours.
Yes. Sports Podcast, that's Sports Social. As you see it in the banner, they've got over 500 and counting. They're endlessly getting new podcasts. And I'm saying this now pretty much every week. And it's great to see that we're in a big family and everyone is treated the same, no matter who you are. Fantastic, Stuart. They've been great to us. They've been great to us when we had Big Fight Weekly. They've been great to you with Stu's Wrestling Podcast. Obviously, great with us with this channel and this podcast we do here. You can also find us on there. All our episodes are on there. That for this podcast and Big Fight Weekly. If you want to go back to the old stuff we used to do, that's all on there as well. But there's plenty there, to take your picking.
Perfect, mate. I'm going to ask, you've obviously got the new boxing game. You've been playing that. How are you finding it? Because I know how much you're into your gaming. I used to be a big gamer years ago, not for many years now, though. But it's great hearing from you about the new games that are coming out. So yeah, just quickly before we go, how are you getting on with it?
You know what? Like, I loved Fight Night, Stuart, when EA had that, and it was a fantastic boxing game. The last couple were brilliant, and obviously then we just didn't get anything then, and then obviously the UFC came through, didn't it? And then they got the rights to UFC, so we've seen obviously UFC take the mantle of first, fighting game sports sort of wise on EA, and Dispute would come out of nowhere really. I have followed the progress the last couple of years with Todd Grisham because obviously he's heavily involved in it, and you know what, it's okay. I mean, I'm enjoying certain aspects. It's not Fight Night for me, and I think Fight Night, even the last Fight Night, and I think you were looking over 12, 13 years ago, Stuart, are still better than this now. Which is mad to say, but I won't knock it too much. I'm enjoying the career mode at the moment. It's good and proper. You don't just win a couple of fights and you're in the top 10 and you're fighting for the titles. I've literally had to break through all the different, obviously, promotions you have in boxing. You know what I mean? And I'm up and down the ranking system, and you're slowly going up, which I think is much better, more realistic. You don't just knock out 10 fighters in boxing and you've got the title. You have to earn your spurs, don't you? And you have to fight some of the not so great fighters. But it's been a learning curve, Stuart. As I said to you on WhatsApp, predominantly I like obviously MMA, so I'm very much orientated in my brain how I work with MMA. So having to use strikes, no leg kicks, no ground game for me is having to sort of rewire everything and learn how to box properly, with the bob and weaving and then moving back and forwards, the counter attack, and it's been great to learn that. I'll tell you that it's been really good to learn that.
It's good, it's good that you've got it. No, brilliant, and again, I bet the graphics are amazing as well. That's the thing, isn't it, with these modern consoles now, the graphics, and my God, just think where it's going to be in the next couple of generations graphically and what they're going to be able to do. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing. But I know how big you're into your games, so it's nice just to come off the old topic of football there, Chris.
Well, you know what the thing is with that, Stuart, is football games aren't that great anymore. Football Managers literally ruined everyone's Christmas, coming out in March instead of November where it was promised. I understand. I won't get angry with it. I'd rather a complete better game than a defunct one like Cyberpunk came out a couple of years ago. Wasn't finished, Stuart, and it was dreadful when it came out. So I'd rather, Sports Interactive get that right. Mm-hmm. The only issue I'll have with that is half your season's gone by the time that game comes out, and it's already out. It's already out of date by that point. There are a lot of mods on at the moment that have moved on and got this season's into 24. I already do that anyway, so it doesn't really bother me. But it is a pain. But as I say, Stuart, FIFA's terrible. I hate FIFA. I wouldn't touch that with a barge pole. And you've got, it's not FIFA now, sorry, EA Sports. FIFA is now been bought by 2K, who do NBA and, the rest of the WWE game. And NBA have a fantastic career. Like the whole thing they do with that, absolutely amazing. A lot of micro transactions, unfortunately. But if they can bring a story mode like, FIFA did a few years ago, and they had the journey, and I enjoyed that. I'm not a big fan of Ultimate Team, so I like the career aspects. I like a story.
Yeah, the old ways of doing it. Absolutely. Chris, thank you very, very much. Thank you for doing double duty on this day in football history. That was great. Fantastic. We love that segment. And yeah, we'll be back very, very soon for episode 31. It's been good, man. It's been good getting on. It's Saturday evening. I'm going to go watch the boxing. And I'm not sure what you're doing with the rest of your evening.
Drinking, lad.
There you go. I've got a couple of beers in the fridge, so I'm going to have a couple watching the fights. Take care, everybody. Thank you very, very much. As Chris said, subscribe on Apple and Spotify. You'll find us on Football Then and Now. And we'll be back very, very soon for episode 31 of Football Then and Now. Take care, everybody. Ciao.
Football Then and Now, a fun look at football nostalgia and the modern game intertwined. Join us.